Hey guys, I'm back and I want to talk about this. Actually came up on one of my commercial claims, and it is the insurance company using Google Earth satellite images. And sometimes they're dated and sometimes they're not. But on my commercial property, the insurance company went back and said, hey, look, we can see that this roof was damaged from the satellite photo from 2019. And this is a Hurricane Nicholas. This was a storm that was in 2020, November of 2020. And so it's kind of like, yeah, but that's a satellite image. I mean, if you don't get down there and look, it can look bad, but it was actually a brand new roof. It just had dirt on it from where it had rained, and the dirt just kind of was left. This was a flat roof. So I went looking to see, what I get curious like this. So I went to Zell, which is Zell. It used to be Zell Hoffman. It's an insurance defense attorney out of Dallas. I have a legal background, so I like to look at both sides. I like to look and see what Chip Merlin's saying. I also like to see what Zell is saying, because they will put articles, they'll put bulletins, newsletters out on different things, maybe on, because of a case that happened and some precedence has been set, or they just want to talk to everybody about it. Don't the insurance companies be careful about using certain things, because if it comes to us and we have to defend it, meaning Zell, if it comes to us, we have to defend it. This is a little sticky area. Don't base everything on it. It might be just a piece of evidence. But what their article says is, in recent years, the use of the Google Earth satellite imagery has become an increasingly common method for locating or viewing specific addresses, that they use high-resolution cameras to obtain the satellite images. And you've probably seen this on the news. They'll come by when a hurricane's about to hit, and they'll come by and they'll just image whole areas, and then they come back after the storm and they go, before, and then they come back and they go after, and you can see the devastation from it. So they are good things to have, but you don't want them looking at your property saying, oh, well, 2 years ago we saw some missing shingles, because maybe it was your house, maybe it wasn't. I mean, it's one of those, depending on which side you're on, if you want it or not. But what the Google Earth emerged as a potential source of information during an investigation of property damage claims, and the evidence in the event disputed claims were litigated. So, for instance, they may have done a Google Earth, again, like we were saying, said, hey, dude, your roof was shot, you had tarps on it before this hurricane even came in. So, or maybe before you even purchased it, you purchased it as is, and you didn't pay that much money for it because you were going to renovate it. Now all of a sudden you want to say that was caused by this storm, when they can show it wasn't. Now that gets sketchy insurance fraud, but insurance can easily say, hey, sorry, not on our time. You weren't the insured, on the prior, during that, when that damage happened, and you bought it as is. So the date you get insurance is the date we insure it, not for any prior events. So in the context of the disputed first party property claims, and when I say first party, I am talking about you suing your own insurance company. So there's only first property and third property. First property is you and your insurance company. Third property is, say, in a car wreck where in which you hit me in your car and I end up having to file a claim on your insurance, not my own. That's third party. So just in this context of first party, meaning you and your insurance company, Google Earth images can be helpful in establishing a property's pre-loss condition. Changes in the property's condition over time, including wear and tear, and the existence or non-existence of specific structures on the property. Maybe you had a shed brought in right before the storm happened, like a few months before the storm happened, and they're trying to say, well, we didn't know you had a shed. And they can actually look and see on the date of the storm or right before the storm, you actually had a shed. They didn't know about it, but you did. The images can be particularly helpful where the claim loss potentially involves pre-existing damage, like we were talking about, that falls outside the applicable coverage and our policy period. And that would be like if their Google showed, a week before the storm or even days before the storm, because they knew a hurricane was coming in. They did one of those. There were tarps on the roof already. So that's something that they have the ability to do, and they want to do. Why wouldn't they? In litigated claims, the admissibility of those images may be critical for both the insurance company and you, the policyholder. while pictorial testimony has typically been used to authenticate evidence, the courts are now drawing distinctions between ordinary photographs and Google Earth satellite imagery, and the growing concern surrounding that emerging technology. It allows digital modification of online images. So way back in the day, if you saw Google Earth and you printed off, that's the way it was. But technology has gotten to the point where people can go in and shade in and make things look worse or take stuff away. So because of that, what it says is, for instance, courts are analyzing closely the markers and labels of each image with particular emphasis on date markers. Thus, for parties who wish to use the images in a litigation content, which means in court, it's important to remain mindful of the potential challenges associated with admitting them. So how we used to do it in the past is, my boss would, if he found something on the internet, and this is when the internet was new, nobody even knew, like he found State Farm's claims handling file that I guess was like an inner office memo. We're talking like early 2000. And he found it. He not Googled it, but because we didn't have Google back then, but he found it and he wanted to use it. And then of course State Farm said, oh, hell no, that's our work product, that's ours, we don't know how he got it. And he did an affidavit saying, this is where I found it. And of course it had the really long remember how they had the HTTP, and then it had like almost 2 lines of how to find that document. And so he filed a motion called "What's good for the goose is good for the gander" motion, meaning if they can use it and we can get access to it, how come we can't use it? So it was showing how State Farm, this is then, so how State Farm was training their adjusters and bad faith and things along that line. But now you would be actually hacking into State Farm to get something like that, but it has to be admissible. Otherwise it's hearsay. So you either have to have it produced by a witness to be able to cross them, or you have to put an affidavit with it saying where you got it, and then the other side can challenge it. But that's the legal part of it. But while Google Earth uses some automatic labeling features, it also allows users to easily insert their own numbers. And so you can see why you really wouldn't want them to come back and say, oh, we're denying it because of this Google image, and you're not really sure if that's a legitimate image. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but you really don't know. And so you have to question it, which means if you question it, jury gets to question it, judge gets to question it. So I just wanted to put that out there on Google Earth images. Because of that, they're not as admissible. They can be used as a piece of evidence, but it doesn't mean it's the aha Perry Mason, this is what it looked like and there was a tarp on it the day before, right? Okay, so stay safe and be prepared.